couple of buttons here. We now come to the guest speaker portion of our service, and I'd like to ask Robert to introduce our guest speaker today.
Good morning. Thank you, Jen, for serving with us today. I'd like to introduce to you, to our fellow parishioners. Jen has always felt the force of spirit around her. But while growing up, this force terrified her. She was involved in a very serious car accident, and it was her spirit guide who walked her through the recovery. Her spirit guide's name was Timothy, her cousin, and what she experienced changed and enlightened her forever. Since the transformation, she has come to embrace her gift, connecting with spirits around us, and seeking to help others embrace their connection with their friends and family in spirit. You may also check her out. She has a website, The Kiwi Connection, all one word, thekiwiconnection.net. Blessings to all.
Can't hear you, Jen, for some reason. It's showing you as unmuted. Are you using an external microphone by any chance? We can't hear it for some reason.
I think she said she's going to leave and then come back in. I'm going to leave.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. I'm just going to put everybody on gallery view here. All right, so the lecture is called The Word. So I had no idea what I was going to speak about, and again, asked Spirit for help in their guidance and their intervention, and they always come through. And I was directed by my trance guide, Helen. Helen is a scribe in the spirit world, and she always comes through with help with these lectures for me. Okay, so I was directed to a book that I recently purchased off Amazon called John C. Maxwell, 3 books in 1. And so this, and aside, this book is incidentally recommended by the SCC as well. It's very interesting. I was guided to open this book at page 25, and here is what John wrote in italicized lettering. Do you feel the world is treating you well? If your attitude towards the world is excellent, you will receive excellent results. If you feel so-so about the world, your response from that world will be average. Feeling badly about your world, you will seem to have only negative feedback from life. So there is a saying, you can see a glass as half full or half empty. The half full is the positive, the half empty, the negative. Spirit works in so many ways to uplift us, to have our glass half full and bring us into the positive and out of the negative. You just have to ask for Spirit's help, and they definitely will come and help you. Okay, and that reminds me of a little story that my mother Lois told me years ago when she and her brother Trevor were about 12 and 13 years old. They were in halves to buy a small bottle of lemonade, and they call it fizzy in New Zealand. So they paid for half and half out of their allowance that they had. And then my uncle Trevor decided that he was going to drink the bottom half of the bottle and she could drink the top half of the bottle. So anyway, he grabbed the bottle from her and he guzzled the whole thing down. And she was so mad. And she said, that's not fair. And he goes, yeah, well, I had to drink the top to get to the bottom, to my part. Okay, so now is that, you know, like that's a different, they have varying perspectives on that. And that depends on that word. The different perspectives is on that word. John Maxwell is a renowned ministerial speaker and lecturer all over the world, sharing uplifting, life-changing messages, life-changing attitudes, and human nature stories. I will be quoting him throughout this lecture, and this is what he said in his book. We live in a world of words. Attached to these words are meanings that bring varied responses from us. The words such as happiness, acceptance, peace, and success describes what each of us desires. But there is one word that will heighten the possibility of our desires being fulfilled or prevent them from being a reality within us. While leading a conference in Southern California, John Maxwell tried the following experiment. To reveal the significance of the word, he read the previous paragraph that I just recited. Do you feel the world is treating you well? If your attitude towards the world is excellent, you will receive excellent results. If you feel so-so about the world, your response from that world will be average. Feel badly about your world, and you will seem to have only negative feedback from life. To recap again, he then said, what the word describes will determine our happiness, acceptance, peace, and success. So for his experiment and response, the audience began to express words such as job, education, money, time. Someone finally came up with a winning word. For some, the winning word represents a difficulty in every opportunity. For others, it represents an opportunity in every difficulty. Some climb with a positive word, while others fall with a negative perspective on the word. The very fact that the word makes some while breaks others is significant enough for us to explore its importance. Studying the word will heighten the truth within us. The word determines our relationship with people, the golden rule. Therefore, however you want people to treat you, so treat them. And that's related to the word. Spiritualism, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i, Orthodox Jewish religions, and so on, all have the same axioms. They all realize that effective ministry to one another and their flock is based on the relationship and the word. No single methodology, preaching or counseling or visitations will effectively minister to all the needs of the people all of the time, but the word is important. John Maxwell explains that relationships are built by recognition, trust, modeling, and friendship. All these things are within the context of the word. Yet established relationships are difficult. People are funny, fickle, and they're full of ego. They want the front of the bus, the back of the church, the middle of the road. Tell a person that there are 300 billion stars in our universe and they will believe you. Tell a person that a fence has just been painted and they will touch it. An impatient driver will pass your car, then suddenly brake to turn off onto a side road in front of you. It's like, oh my goodness. People are frustrating at times. They show up in the wrong places at the wrong time for the wrong reason. They are always interesting, but not always charming. They might be Jekyll one day and Hyde the next. You can't get along with them, but you may be lost without them. That's why it is essential to build upon solid relationships with others in this world. Understanding them and being aligned with their word is paramount to be successful in their relationships. John Maxwell goes on to say, when our word we possess places others first and we see people as important, then our perspectives will reflect their viewpoint, not ours. Until we walk in other people's shoes and see life through somebody else's eyes, we will be like the man who angrily jumped out of his car after a collision with another car. Why don't you people watch where you're driving? He shouted wildly. You're the fourth person I've hit. This viewpoint is one of blame. The word is used in a negative connotation. Now listen carefully, then you will discover in the short story the essence of the word, which has been revealed at least 3 times in the beginning of this lecture. There is a story of 2 salesmen who were sent to a remote but large island to sell shoes. This was the turn of the century. The first salesman upon arrival was shocked to realize that no one wore shoes. Immediately, he sent a telegram to contact his home office in Chicago to say, "I will return home tomorrow. No one here wears shoes. This was a waste of time." The second salesman was thrilled by the same realization to see that no one wore shoes. Immediately, he sent a telegram home to the home office in Chicago saying, "Please send me 10,000 pair of shoes as soon as possible. We have a new market to supply our shoes. Everybody here needs them." Okay, the word that John Maxwell was speaking about is the word attitude. Attitude, attitude, attitude. The word attitude describes what will determine our happiness, acceptance, peace, and success. The second shoe salesman had a great positive attitude, which brought success in business, satisfaction in cornering the new market, and helping people. The first salesman left with an empty pocket and a lack of insight due to his negative attitude. As John Maxwell said at the beginning of this lecture, do you feel the world is treating you well? If your attitude towards the world is excellent, you will receive excellent results. If you feel so-so about the world, your response from that world will be average. Feel badly about your world, and you will seem to have only negative feedback from your life. Attitude is so important. So why not write down a project you have neglected because of an unhealthy attitude? List all the positive benefits that will be received from completion of the project. All is well that ends well. Raise the level of your attitude. There is very little difference in people and relationships, but that little difference makes a difference. That difference is attitude. Think of something that you desire. What attitude will you need to get or achieve it? John Maxwell goes on to state, we will know our attitude is on the right track when we are like the small businessman whose clothing store was threatened by extinction. A national chain store had moved in and acquired all of the property in his block. This one particular businessman refused to sell. "All right then, we'll build around you and put you out of business," the new competitor said. The day came when the small merchant found himself hemmed in with a new department store stretching out on both sides of him. Okay. The competitor's banner announced grand opening. The merchant countered with a banner stretching across the entire width of his little shop. It read, "Main entrance." Instead of having a defeatist attitude, the small shop owner had a positive attitude. This changed the flow of the foot traffic from the national chain store competitor to his little shop. There is a saying, it's all in your attitude, which is so very true. Many times we have been guilty of viewing our future challenges as the sunset of life rather than the bright sunshine of a new day, a new beginning. Again, that's called attitude. Go forward in your life with a positive attitude, with new challenges, with a renewed bright sunrise every day, and remember to live in the love and light of spirit with your glass half full. Thank you for listening and listening patiently for this lecture about the word and waiting for me to reveal that word to you, attitude. Blessings to all. Thank you again.
Jen, so very much for those nice words. I'm just going to stop the recording there.